This is my great pleasure to welcome here first speaker, Dr. Gsa Savic, a head of nuclear information session at International Atomic Energy Agency. Dr. Savic is going to introduce us a nuclear grey literature repository.
Hello. Dobrý den. That's how far my Czech goes. Sorry about that. I hope you can hear me. Anyway, while they're fixing that, we can continue. We all live in gray times. We are coming from the outside where we have a gray weather. We read the shades of gray, and we come to this gray conference, right? But not everything has to be so gray, and it's a very nice thing to be here in beautiful Prague, and it's my pleasure to give a presentation today about INIS. And I would like, before I go into presentation, I would like to thank the organizer, especially Petra and Hannah, for having me here today. Thank you. I would be talking about INIS Nuclear Grey Literature Repository, and INIS stands for International Nuclear Information System. Oh, it works. This is the brief outline of my presentation, but I would like also to mention that we all understand that we live in the world of, besides gray world, it's also the world of information overload. There are just too many things in our minds. There are too many laptops in front of us. There is a desire to take our attention and our time from everything. So for all of you that will be probably checking your emails or you're chatting with someone on the phones, there's one slide which is important, and that's this one, because I'd like to give a summary. So this is what it's all about, and then if you want to fall asleep, that's perfectly fine with me. Or check your email. The whole thing that I will be talking about, in fact, ends up with a challenge which we faced some time ago at INIS, and that's the challenge of how to increase use, accessibility, usability, expandability of an online repository with over 3.9 million bibliographic records and over 1 million of full-text nuclear-related documents. Yes, this is the area of nuclear information. This was the challenge. It was a big challenge, and the things which are below are, in fact, some of the things that I'll be talking today, and those are, in fact, the solution we came up with. The main one was to make it open, freely accessible to the public. Before this, INIS was a closed system. You had to register. There was a triple registration, in fact, going from the national authorities to INIS headquarters and then back. So it was just a cumbersome process. So no wonder that not too many people were, in fact, willing to go through that. So make it open and freely accessible. Replace a legacy database search with a top-of-the-line one. Simplify the basic search interface and improve the advanced search. Incorporate rich features, but make them as discrete as possible. And finally, don't fight the giants. Join them, which means incorporate with Google.com, Google Scholar, as well as other search engines. So this is my presentation in a nutshell. This is the message, in fact, which I have for all of us, what and how to think about resolving some of the issues we might have. Briefly, and this is not a sales pitch because we don't sell anything, I just have to tell you a little bit about who we are. I'm coming from Vienna, in fact, from International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, which is part of the United Nations system. IAEA is the world's leading agency for cooperation in the nuclear field. We have been created in 1957. We work currently, the latest number is 165 member states, as well as a number of other international agencies, non-governmental organizations, and so on. The main purpose of us is to promote safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear technologies. So although it's IAEA, nuclear energy, we do not talk about anything which is war-related. Although most of the time when you see in the news, you will hear about us talking about Iran, in fact. But that's again, to make sure that the use of their nuclear resources is for peaceful uses. Regarding the nuclear information goals of the agency, it's to foster the exchange of scientific and technical information on the peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology, which translates into what is much closer to our world. It's to collect, process, preserve, as well as disseminate that information. It also has a role of increasing awareness in member states of the importance of maintaining efficient and effective systems for managing that nuclear information resources and assist with the capacity building and training. If we are talking about INIS, which is part of the agency, this is a special program which is one of the world's largest custodians of non-conventional published literature in the field of nuclear science and technology, and we used here, in fact, a term called NCL, a non-conventional literature, which is the synonym, or almost the synonym to gray literature. We have been established in 1970. Today, or this year, we celebrate the 45th anniversary. Altogether, part of the INIS, there are 130 states and 24 international organizations which, in fact, supply the information, they use the information, and they're part of our governing structure. Our main role is to collect and process bibliographic metadata, as well as to collect and make available the full texts of nuclear literature published by the IAEA member states. We also do the electronic preservation of non-conventional literature, such as the IAEA documents, policy reports, and other full-text publications which we receive from member states. Also, we make INIS collection of publications freely accessible to all internet users around the world, and we did that since April 2009. If we are talking about the collection, we do have currently, the latest number is 3.8 million, and you have there somewhere at the bottom, in fact, the exact number as of October 1st. Out of that, we have over a million, in fact, of full-text documents. We have in our own collection about 750,000 full-text, and 320,000 are the ones which we do have access to through DOI or URL or PURL or anything, something like that. We collect information annually. We collect, in average, over 120,000 bibliographic records a year, annually. And we are very proud, in fact, when we go above that. The biggest number was 136,000 just 2 years ago. On the left side, you have this INIS collection by subject. And as you can see, those are all technical sciences, mainly or generally related to nuclear science. It's not fair just to say that this is only nuclear, because it does have the element of environment protection, the chemistry, medicine. There's even legal part of the documentation and so on. But it's all, in fact, directly or indirectly related to the field which we are covering, this nuclear field. Also, you have here on the right side bibliographic records by type. For sharp eyes, you could ask a question. So in order to prevent that, I'll tell you that, yes, we are very proud to say that this is a non-conventional repository. However, numbers don't really tell you that, because we have over 60% journal articles. So there is a discrepancy there. Our tendency is to have most of them as a gray literature, but today's world is that there is a lot of that being published either as an open source or in commercial publications, and we do collect them as well and make them available. One of the reasons for that was that our member states, in fact, had a problem about 10, 15 years ago when all the development and funds going to the nuclear were kind of slowing down a little, and there was not so much being put into the area of information and documentation management, so they asked us to make sure that at least we have one place that they can visit and access for this type of information, and that's the reason we included that. When we are talking about this search engine or the repository, you can see that we have the, on the top is the old one, which was from 1970 to 2011. It was based on a technology, on the basis technology, relational database management system, and we had problems with that, such as the support we were obtaining for that, the speed, and I'm not mentioning here the money we were spending on that. It was a cluttered interface, and don't take me wrong when I say it was an interface made for librarians, not for real users at the end of the line. And that's one of the reasons I'm saying that is because we only had this beautiful but advanced search. We had the full text indexing not available there, and multilingual interface search support was missing, as well as support for use and thesaurus and other authorities. So in 2010, in fact, and starting from 2011 implementation, we have switched to Google Search Appliance. Google Search Appliance is a box. It's not a google.com. It's a box that you put in your own agency or organization, and you use for indexing document repositories, any other collection of data or documentation that you might have. What we achieved with that was the great speed and scalability. It was an uncluttered, easy to use startup interface, and that's the power of Google, because you have simple line of entry field, and you go from there and you can do wonders after that. And this is something that we are all used to, in fact. But it also has a possibility for advanced options to broaden the Titan search, so you can in fact go to the advanced search and do, if you are fully trained for that. You can also have full text indexing, more relevant results, and we implemented a faceted or filtered search. For all of you that are keen to try it, you have the URL there on the screen. When we are talking about this simple search, it does in a way resemble something which is already on a Google.com. Yes, you do have a field to enter. You have connections to the INIS homepage. You can go to thesaurus. You can do the browse through subject areas and so on. And you have this capability of going into some more advanced search where you can use all the whistles and blows for doing the search. Also, you have this facility which we did not have previously, which is subscribe or send the email, and we cover the world. So yes, we did have to have this a number of languages incorporated for the interface. One of the things which came from our users, and that's an interesting thing, and especially for just this morning coming to here, we had a discussion with a colleague about what the students nowadays are using. They're in fact very, I should say, impatient with bibliographical data, because that's not really what they want. They want access to full text. They want immediate access to that. So one of the ways to resolve that is instead of wasting their time and searching the bibliographic data, which might be very difficult to find, we also can limit the search to full text only, and some other features there too. When we are talking about the advanced search, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but yes, there are things that you can go through, searching all fields, specific fields. You can search also languages, and these are the languages that we currently cover. It's an interesting feature, in fact, because you can search in French and find the Chinese document through this. You can also have some other features of including, not including things, and all the things that, in fact, we are very familiar when we are doing the so-called high-level library type of search. When we are talking about the main features of the INIS collection, it's the platform, which is a Google search appliance. It's renowned, simple, fast, flexible. Started in 2010. We have the latest one is for 2014. We are just about to release a new version of that. We have virtual servers within the IEA. Availability is high, 99-point-some% availability average. We are also now working on having it placed on the cloud, but there are some security issues with that, although this is publicly open system. Accessibility, we have free and open web-based application, nothing to install. We do have the apps if someone wants to go for that, and there is also a widget that you can incorporate in any of your sites, and it will be searching us at the same time. So if anyone is interested, you don't even have to contact me. Just go to the web and you can do it from there. It's easy to use. It's intuitive, self-explanatory, initial screens, no previous INIS collection knowledge required, which was the case with the previous search. And of course, this single search box. Advanced search, as I already mentioned, has a number of possibilities there, including complex queries and metadata and Boolean search. We do have the faceted search, which is included in this latest release. It's a dynamic navigation through country, language, publication year, INIS volume, as well as subject. We are trying to include the new types of documents. It's not easy. We are still doing a PPT published as PDFs and putting there, although there is probably no need for that. We are having a small collection of audiovisual documents, but there are many ways that you can improve and expand your own repository just by going through different types of formats, including, of course, something which is nowadays very popular, and it's data. Talking about the data, we do have, it's not mentioned here, but we do have a big project with Japan, with the Fukushima data archives, which is slowly being incorporated. We do have already thousands of records there, and we are working on, in fact, having a complete data archives of Fukushima searchable through this. We cover 8 languages. Those are 6 official UN languages plus Japanese and German. The authority files are also listed there. Usability, I would call that a standard usability, although it does not come directly with the GSA, but it's included there like PDFs, HTMLs, Excels, and so on. I don't know how I'm doing with time, because I would like, in fact, to hear if there are any questions. So we have the user profiling, which is an interesting thing. We do not require any users to register, but if you do register, you will get some extra things like you will be able to save your queries, you will be able to get some alerts and so on, which also becomes automatically available. And there are also some help features. When we talk about the actual solution, we do have to keep in mind that there are pros and cons of this. And if you're talking about the pros, those are the user's familiarity with the Google type of interface, because everyone nowadays uses Google, so there is no learning curve there. It's easy to use by our outside users. We have many features available out of the box with the little configuration. There is a possibility to include many features in foreground or background. It's a quick and relevant response to searches. It's easy to customize the user interface by editing the XSLT, although I have to say, it's easy for programmers. It's not something that, people who are just casual users can do that. And of course, it's really scalable. The cons, we have to say that, this is not a cheap solution. It's a very costly one. And the reason for that is that Google, in fact, is charging us per number of records. So if you have millions of records, you can imagine that, the price is really high. There's also a cost of daily maintenance and running the whole show, the whole system. I know that there is already here some use of Invenio. We are also experimenting with that, so maybe in 2-3 years we might try to see, probably in a year or two in fact, try to see the compatibility with this. We did some tests and it's possible to probably achieve similar results and replace GSA with that. We do have some people who are helping us with that because certain developers, in fact, are also working for us on this project. We also have the Gsa Index, or a database, or this collection is not easily controllable. It's not administrators control, and there is no direct access to it. So there are limitations what you can control by that. I also like to say that Gsa is a search tool. It's not a collection management tool, so you do have to have a system which controls the collection itself. And definitely it's not a reporting tool and not a statistical tool which creates, although we are using Google Statistics for that, but that's how far it goes. What's important is that the impact of opening access to google.com and Google Scholar, you can see the figures here that from 50,000 it went to 200,000, and from 3,000 downloads a month it went to 160,000 downloads. This is the impact probably we all want for our collection. We want the collection to be used. And my final slide, lessons learned, which goes slightly back to my first opening slide, is that to increase the use, make the repository open and freely accessible to the public, replace a legacy database, because most of us are running those legacy systems, with the top-of-the-line one, provide full text of documents, which our users definitely want. To improve the usability, or to meet the user needs, simplify the basic search interface and improve the advanced one. Don't go immediately into advanced because some people will be turned away by that, and incorporate rich features, but make them discrete as much as possible. To enable expandability or scalability, get a top performance technical solution and provide for different records formats. And finally, to increase the accessibility, incorporate it with the systems such as Google.com, Google Scholar, as well as other search engines, for example, worldwidescience.com.org, and so on. And of course, one of the things I'm doing here also, invest in promotion. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation, and now it's time for questions.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question. You mentioned that there's a tight integration between your repository and Google Scholar, and for me it's problematic because Google is a commercial company, and you said you make the records open access to Google. but there are a lot of other also academic search engines, and I wonder if your repository provides any interfaces to other search engines.
Thank you very much. This is the right question regarding Google, because there is always this this dilemma, in fact. Should we join them or should we fight them? Fighting them will be a losing battle. And we had a big discussion in the organization about exactly that. We had our own system. We did not want Google to go into it. We did have people saying, well, everything is on Google anyway, so why do we need you? Well, we do need, or someone needs us, because we do need to put it on that Google there. So as long as we can show that difference, it's important. We did analysis, we did statistical analysis of how many records are only available on Google through us. And that goes literally into 70-some, almost 80% of records are our own, or we are the sole proprietor of the actual record. And that was a good thing. Google Scholar was a slightly different, because they only want access to full text. So we had to have a big discussion with them and to make sure that they incorporate also our metadata, at least, with that, and show record as ours. It's being done there. They keep changing the things, and we are not too happy with that, because the tendency there is they just grab the record and put it there without any reference to the actual source. There are ways to do it with watermarks and so on, but it's not that easy. However, most of our searches, 90-some%, in fact, does come from Google. So, you know, it's like putting the weight. Should we make this? Our application is freely available. So is it available only through our site, or is it available through other sites? It's the user at the end who benefits. And we have been so far successful to protect our financing and everything from the bosses, because we do show them these statistics. I like your suggestion about making links to other collections, other academic searches, databases, repositories, harvesting, and so on. We do have some cooperation, especially with this worldwidescience.org, and it's working very well. We had, as soon as we made the connection, there was a 20% jump in the number of uses of our database. For anyone else who wants to use it, we do have this widget, which is freely available, so you can incorporate it into your website. Should there be more done into this direction? Probably yes. But as you know, this is something which takes lots of time. We are trying to get to follow some of the open access standards, because we are at the moment harvesting some databases like PubMed. We are harvesting Agris, but we would like, in fact, also to allow others to harvest us. And we are working on that. I believe that within the next 12 months, we will give that feature possibility to other libraries too. I hope this replies to.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Can you give us at least a raw indication how much do you pay to Google for search?
It's very expensive. I can put it this way. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of euros. The licenses go according to the number of records, and they are not only annually based, because if you take, like, let's say 3 to 5 years, then you're getting better deals, and that's what we did. The way it works is that the Google Search Appliance can incorporate records from different repositories, collections, databases within the agency. So we are not paying the whole fee for the using of GSA, because there are some other parts which are using it. So we pay around 60-some% of the total cost, but it's still hundreds of thousands of euros. Lower hundreds.
One more question.
In fact, 2 questions about identifiers. First one is about authors. Do you use ORCID for the identification of authors in your database?
ORCID is currently not being used by us. We do have some kind of author control, but it's not through ORCID. This is probably one of the ways that we might go into, especially the academic writers. Most of them are using the system. This is something that is what we call it in pipeline.
Okay, yeah. And second question is about the DOIs. The articles, I suppose most of them have DOIs, but what about gray literature? Do you attribute DOIs or other identifiers to non-conventional documents, or also in the pipelines?
DOI is being used from the commercially published articles. It's a simple matter of part of the metadata, so we do incorporate, we never leave it out. If it's there, we use it. And this brings us back to the previous question, which is like, are we doing a favor to commercial organizations? Because once you click on that DOI, and if your library does not have access to it, you're asked for your credit card. So yes, in other words, we are doing a commercial favors to those commercial entities. We tried to use this as an argument for lowering the price of getting the metadata from them, but it did not work, except in one case where they gave us the blank access to all that. Regarding the second part of it, which is the gray literature DOIs, and we do not assign any DOIs ourselves, but if it's available, we would definitely use. And as you know very well, there is a big discussion about how to cover the DOIs for the gray literature, and this is something which probably another conference can be held on this one. And I also support your views because I read some of your articles where you are fully in favor of something or a body or someone that would do that, although from the point of United Nations, it would not be possible to do through an organized body. It would probably have to go down to national entities or regional entities like we have here in Europe.
Thank you. Other questions? No. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.